Good morning and welcome back to the channel. As the title of this video states, and as some of the titles have already stated, this is actually a thoughts on a particular lens, which is the 7artisans 12mm 2.9 for the Fuji X system. This whole video has been shot on it so far, and I have some thoughts on this lens that we will talk about more as we progress throughout this video. If you are here strictly for the lens and you don't care who I am, well, guess what? That's okay too. There's chapters below. You can just skip to the parts that you want. Right now, we're gonna talk about this coffee for probably 20 seconds, so bear with me. I do share a lot of coffees on this channel, and I wanted to share one with you today from a company called DayGlow. DayGlow is actually a lot like Revolver in that they did a lot of multi-roaster. I think they still do actually, but they've started roasting themselves. And first, can we just talk about how awesome this bag is? One thing I want to note about this bag is look at what is front and center. You got the tasting notes here. They've got their classifications. They've got different classes for each coffee, and it's just very pleasant to look at. If you're looking at a shelf and you want to know what the coffee tastes like, you've got the notes front and center, and then we can go from there. So DayGlow, great job with the bags, and this coffee actually tastes exactly like these three tasting notes, which is amazing. So if you're in the market for a nice coffee that tastes exactly like the tasting notes, DayGlow El Salvador, this is the one. Link in the bio below if you want to purchase that. I do want to remind you again that this entire video is being shot on the 7artisans 12mm T2.9. So this is obviously the handheld portion of this. I want you to be able to see what the frame looks like, the wobbles and stuff, so I'm just gonna walk around while we're talking a little bit more. So this setup this morning, I've actually put my Mocha Master on a smart plug, so I'm able to brew the coffee on a timer. So I can just put the coffee in the night before, the water, and then set my timer and it just goes off. This is not revolutionary, but it is revolutionary to me right now, and I'm really enjoying it. One of the things that I was worried about with a manual focus lens in particular was just having to set the focus. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's true. And I never really thought that, okay, with a 12mm lens, because it's so wide, you can just hold it exactly where you would hold it vlogging wise, set your focus, and then you're actually always in focus no matter what. If I accidentally go like this, I'm still in focus. And we'll drop all the way down to T2.9 so you can actually see what it looks like. Needless to say, this is actually, it's not a bad vlogging lens, other than the weight, but we'll get more into that in a little bit. I'm just gonna let the frame move around a little bit while we talk about this. I've wired up the Rode Wireless Go 2 so that we can get clean audio while the camera's moving all over the place. So here's a little bit of a why I bought this lens in the first place. I bought this lens to experiment with a Cine lens. I've always wanted to use Cine lenses, but I've never really understood why you would buy one. They always seemed like they were a little bit more specialty and not really built for one person, which is kind of true, but I really just looked at it as you're buying a manual focus lens that has gear teeth. And I'm sure a lot of you probably think the same. So really what put me over the top was after I was vlogging with the Helios lens, or made a video with the Helios lens, which I'll link right up here. Obviously that's a vintage lens with no autofocus. And at first this was kind of annoying, but then I started to get used to the limitation using manual focus. And I started to really actually enjoy it because not only does it make you think, but it also, it feels more secure, especially when you're filming on your own and you just want to like focus on a subject. You're not worried about your autofocus jumping back and forth. You're less fragile in the way that you think, I guess. But one thing that was kind of irritating about using the manual focus on that particular lens was that it's not perfectly smooth. Like the lens itself does not focus exactly the same with the same dampening the whole way through. It almost feels like it's an oval shape as opposed to a perfect circle. And this kind of put me over the edge for, okay, I'm gonna give a cinema lens a chance. What are the pros of using a Cine Lens? Well, I've written a couple down, so I'm gonna go through them here. They are heavy, which makes them more stable. The focus ring, unlike the Helios or a photo lens that is a little bit older, whatever, there's a priority on the Cine Lens for the focus wheel to be perfectly smooth and dampened exactly the same throughout the whole range. And that makes it such a joy to use. On this particular lens, the minimum focus is about 3 inches from the lens, so you can get some pretty cool perspectives on that. Actually, Cine Dailies did do a pretty cool POV type video with this lens. The price is pretty cheap. The optics are actually pretty good. I mean, you've been watching it the whole time, so you judge for yourself. And one thing which I think is pretty cool about this lens is that it's very short. It's very close to the body. And with pros, there's always going to be some cons. And so what are the cons, Chris? Well, actually, the focal length itself. 12 millimeters, it's a great focal length, but I don't know if it's something that you would use all the time on your camera. I'm trying to experiment with that myself because I like the idea of it, but I'm more finding that I'm a little bit more of a medium type shooter. And what I had on the pros list was that it's heavy, but I'm also going to put that on the cons list because depending on what you're trying to do, it might be a little bit heavy, more cumbersome to balance onto smaller things. And then the obvious stupid one here is that there's no autofocus. Now, obviously, if you need autofocus, it's very simple. Do not buy this lens. Because I'm a beginner in Cine lenses, this might actually be a plus, but I find the focus throw, like the distance that the ring has to go around to get to where you're going, is quite long. So it sometimes feels like you're turning this thing in infinity times just to get a couple inches in focus. But again, it is such a wide lens that if your aperture is closed down a little bit, then you've got such a deeper depth of field in general, so you don't need to focus as much. But I do want to say that you're turning this thing for centuries. Overall, would I recommend that you get this lens? I mean, if you watch the video, then you kind of already probably have a pretty good idea if this is for you. But if you want to try a Cine lens, I think this is a great option. I'm personally going to try and use it more as a vlogging lens, as it is a little bit wider, and with the camera that I'm using, I'm able to punch in a little bit and get a little bit of extra reach. But I'm really enjoying the profile of this lens on here. I really like the short focusing distance, and I just love the feel of it and how it balances on the camera itself. So should you buy it? That's really up to you. Is it a good intro into the Cine lens world? Hence, it's my first one. I can say yes, it is. Like, I'm very curious about trying more, especially in this lineup, because I think this lens performs very, very well. It definitely makes me curious about more Cine lenses in the future. If you found this video helpful or useful, please consider hitting the like button and also subscribing for more content like this in the future. Oh, there is one more thing, and I think it kind of goes without saying, but just in case, this video was not sponsored in any way. I bought this lens with my own grown-up money. So yeah, have a fun day, joy doing stuff. Goodbye. Oh, good, thanks you.